There was actually an airline called Atlanta Air. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
The only Google it.
A lesson about how you do business right.
Daily round-trip flights from Atlanta and New York to Greenbrier beginning April 27th.
Air Atlanta was founded in 1984 by Michael Hollis, a young African-American entrepreneur from Atlanta, Georgia. Hollis was only 31 at the time and had already made his mark as a successful lawyer, businessman, and political figure. With his entrepreneurial drive and connections in the business and political world, Hollis envisioned creating a competitive airline that would be headquartered in his hometown of Atlanta, a city rapidly becoming an aviation hub due to the growth of Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. The airline's creation was historic because it was the first large-scale airline in the U.S. owned and operated by African Americans. Hollis brought in financial backers and aviation experts, combining business acumen with technical know-how. Though he lacked direct experience in the aviation industry, Hollis believed that breaking into the airline business would represent a major milestone for Black enterprise in America, particularly during the post-civil rights era. Hollis's vision was not just to create another regional carrier, but to compete directly with the giants by offering high-quality service. He aimed to build an airline that reflected pride, representation, and economic empowerment for African Americans in a field historically dominated by white-owned corporations. The early 1980s was a turbulent time for aviation. The Airline Deregulation Act of 1978 had dismantled federal control of fares and routes, opening the skies to new entrants, but also intensifying competition. Established carriers slashed prices, and new airlines sprung up almost overnight, many struggling to survive in the cutthroat environment. Into this volatile, opportunity-filled climate stepped Michael Hollis and his bold idea of Air Atlanta. Air Atlanta officially launched operations in February 1984 with a fleet of Boeing 727s, focusing on high-demand routes from Atlanta to major U.S. cities such as New York, Miami, and Dallas. Its headquarters was strategically based in Atlanta, leveraging the city's status as a transportation hub and the growing presence of business travelers in the Southeast. The airline distinguished itself by offering full-service amenities at competitive fares. Passengers enjoyed complimentary meals, attentive service, and comfortable cabins, an approach designed to lure both business and leisure travelers who wanted quality without the steep costs of legacy carriers. One of the defining features of Air Atlanta's launch was its ambitious branding. Hollis emphasized professionalism and service excellence, recruiting experienced flight crews and projecting an image of reliability. For African Americans, seeing a Black-owned airline launch into national competition was more than business. It was a cultural milestone and a statement of progress. Air Atlanta adopted a hub-and-spoke model out of Atlanta, targeting popular routes and ensuring strong load factors. Instead of trying to expand too quickly, the airline focused on a select group of destinations, seeking to build a loyal customer base through service quality. Strategically, Hollis pursued partnerships with corporations and travel agencies to capture business traffic. He marketed Air Atlanta as not only a viable alternative but a prestige choice for companies who wanted to align with the New South narrative of inclusion, diversity, and progress. By the mid-1980s, Air Atlanta began to expand its route network, experimenting with service to cities such as Fort Lauderdale and Philadelphia. While Hollis had ambitions to grow aggressively, he had to adapt to the challenges of thin margins and the price wars ignited by deregulation. To stay afloat, Air Atlanta relied heavily on leasing aircraft rather than outright purchases, allowing flexibility and lower upfront costs. This strategy helped the airline scale up quickly without heavy capital burdens, but it also left them vulnerable to shifts in leasing rates and operational expenses. Despite the hurdles, Air Atlanta achieved notable successes during its brief life. It was recognized for its customer service excellence, often ranked higher than much larger competitors. For many Black travelers, flying Air Atlanta became a point of pride and solidarity, and the company symbolized that African Americans could compete in industries long closed to them. The airline also gained respect in the aviation world for showing that a minority-owned carrier could attract mainstream customers, build corporate relationships, and operate in major markets. Air Atlanta quickly became a symbol of Black entrepreneurship, garnering national press attention and support from the broader African American community. Yet, the challenges were immense. Price wars with larger airlines, rising fuel costs, and limited cash reserves put Air Atlanta in a difficult position. Unlike legacy carriers, Hollis's airline didn't have decades of infrastructure or deep pockets to absorb prolonged financial stress. By 1987, financial difficulties had caught up with the company. Air Atlanta ceased operations, and while its lifespan was short, the airline had demonstrated the possibility of minority ownership in commercial aviation, an industry notorious for high barriers to entry and consolidation. Air Atlanta broke significant barriers simply by existing. It was the first Black-owned, full-service commercial airline in U.S. history, shattering stereotypes about where African Americans could succeed. In an industry where minorities were largely absent in leadership, ownership, and even representation in marketing, Air Atlanta stood as a groundbreaking model. The airline's presence also contributed to cultural pride and representation. For Black passengers, seeing a company owned by African Americans offering top-tier service was empowering. It showed young entrepreneurs that even industries perceived as untouchable could be accessed through vision and determination. On a broader scale, Air Atlanta sparked conversations about diversity in business leadership during the Reagan era. When deregulation opened doors, but inequality persisted, Hollis's bold step resonated not just in aviation, but across the spectrum of minority entrepreneurship. Air Atlanta may have been short-lived, but its story remains powerful. It proved that a Black-owned company could enter and compete in one of the toughest industries in the United States, even if only for a few years. Its existence inspired pride, broke barriers, and challenged perceptions of African American economic participation. Michael Hollis's vision continues to stand as an important reminder of ambition, representation, and resilience. Air Atlanta is remembered not only for its flights in the sky, but for what it represented on the ground. A bold step forward for Black business and cultural pride in America.